Hello everyone, welcome to EduTap and welcome to the success story session. Today with us we have Ms. Sneha who has cleared the RBI Grade B in this year, that is in 2022, and she is a very young aspirant who was able to clear the RBI Grade B. So let's hear from her only that what was her story to become the RBI Grade B officer. So first of all, heartiest congratulations to you ma'am for clearing RBI Grade B.
Thank you, ma'am.
So starting with your education background, when did you clear the bachelor's in economics and how did you move forward with the RBI? Can you tell a little about that?
So I did my bachelor's in economics in the year 2020 from Patna only, and that year GATE had introduced economics stream. So I started preparing for it as well, and it was held in Feb of last year. After that, I started looking for jobs which would suffice my economics qualifications, and also I am interested in economics, so I was just looking for jobs regarding that, and I came across RBI Grade B. So I straight away started preparing for it.
Okay. So you only cleared the RBI grade B, like you and like finished your bachelor's in 2020 and then you started the preparation for RBI grade B in 2021. So we can say like at quite a young age you were able to clear the RBI grade B, and this was your which attempt?
Ma'am, it was my second attempt.
Okay. And so, we will understand from you only that what was the strategy for you for clearing the RBI grade B. So, we will be starting with the phase one, starting with the GA part. Most of the aspirants have this fear kind of thing that how we will be able to cover the GA part because it's like quite factual and you have to remember a lots of fact. So, how were you able to cater with that?
So of course I had that fear too before starting, because the pattern of phase one, it's a bit scary, and when we look at the question paper with no prior background of current affairs, then it looks even scarier. So firstly, what I did was I went through the question papers, past year question papers, and I tried to see the trend, the most important topics that they asked for.
Mm.
Because I had decided to go for Affairs Cloud monthly magazine, and those magazines are like 200 to 300 pages long. So that's a very big task to do when we have other subjects as well. So I started filtering out, and I just, for example, they don't ask state news. They almost don't ask about state news. So topics like these, I just started filtering out, and I pointed out the most important and most relevant topics. So that somehow reduced the size of the magazine for me. And my trick was the key to my, memorizing the data was revision, multiple revision. I don't think there is any other way or there's any shortcut for it. So I would just go through the magazine once, I would go through it twice, and then I would refer to the pocket PDF, because that acts as a third round of revision. And I think it's easier to remember the news when we just see the headlines or just the one liners. So I had already done like in the paragraph format, so I would just go with the headline format. And after that, I would Affairs Cloud also puts up the Q&A videos on YouTube. So I would go through that for the whole month. And I think that at once I would just go through this like 4 rounds of revision, or 3 rounds of revision and 1 round of reading. So I think by the time the exam came, I had done around 6 to 7 rounds of revision. And with time, it gets easier to revise the data. And if we study the question papers properly, we can analyze which data is relevant for us and which data we can skip.
Okay, so you analyzed the previous year questions, and from that you were able to understand that okay, this is important and these topics I have to do. Can you name some of the topics so it gives the idea to the new aspirants that what topics are important?
So national interest is definitely important, and financial news,
Mm.
especially RBI news,
Yeah, true.
and economy and finance as well. The visits are also very important, both national and international.
Mm.
Reports and indices,
Mm.
defense, and books and authors. I also did books and authors, appointments and resignations, and awards.
Okay.
So yeah, and government schemes, of course.
Yeah. So I think that covers up most of the GA part that is important from the examination point of view. And you have told each and every topic, I think, nicely that has covered the part of the GA. Now coming to the QRE part, like how are you able to cover the QRE?
So for quants in reasoning, I just had in my mind that I had to cross the cutoff, sectional cutoff,
Mm,
and I had to focus more on current affairs and English because I knew that current affairs is a matter of memorizing, so we can easily command on it. And English was my strong area, so I focused on these two. And for quants and reasoning, I just did decent amount of practice so that it would help me cross the section. So I refer to YouTube practice videos. There's a lot of sources, a lot of channels on YouTube which provide the questions. So yeah, it was mostly YouTube, no specific books or anything. Just and also last year I had no, I'm sorry, this year in January I had appeared for IBPS PO mains. So I
okay.
was aware with the pattern of QRE in a way. Although a
Okay.
pattern is now a bit different in phase one,
Hmm,
but we can say that there are things we can learn from the mains examination of IBPS.
okay.
So I was familiar with the pattern and I just did some decent amount.
Okay. And how important do you think the mock tests are for the QRE part, especially?
Ma'am, honestly, I did not attempt any mock tests
Hmm,
because I was very much focused on current affairs. So I did run out of time by the end of my preparation. But of course, the mock test, because I did attempt it for IBPS PO,
hmm,
so
hmm,
I know that mock tests give you I mean, they will let you know how to attempt questions in the exam.
hmm,
I think that is the most important part of mock test, that they tell you how to filter out the questions and in a particular time frame how we can even decide at that very moment that this question is doable by us on. So I think mock test does that for us.
okay.
So people who have fear of time management should definitely go for mock tests.
So I think we have covered up the QRE part. Now coming back to the GA, like there is a very important question that how many months of the GA do you think is important for the phase one?
So I did from January and my
Hmm,
exam was on 28th May.
hmm,
So and I did, I think, till 25th or 26th May. So, and I had a bit of an idea for December's as well, because as I said, I had to appear for the mains exam in January.
hmm, hmm, hmm,
But I did not revise it very much. But I would say that 5 to 6 months of current affairs is a must. That cannot be compromised. And although they do go way back sometimes
hmm,
for a few questions, but according to the time any aspirant has, 5 to 6 months is a minimum that
hmm.
should be done.
Okay, so most of the questions that come are from the 5 to 6 months. So you should focus on that. And then if you want to go back, you can go back to the 9 months, but the questions are less. So you have to prioritize as per your strategy that what you want to like. You want to do each and every question, or you are comfortable with leaving some that are from the previous months.
We
One more
have to
thing.
like keep in mind that it's just a screening
Hmm,
test,
true.
so we don't have to get very emotional about the preparation. We just have to make sure that we are above the cutoff. So I think that spending hours for a topic which might just give you 1 mark is not very wise, and
Hmm,
you can just have a calculated risk for current affairs.
that is true. Now, you said that you were able to do the 3 times of the revision. Now, there is a question that comes in the minds of the students that is it compulsory for us to make notes, or are you able to do without the notes also?
I don't think it's compulsory. I didn't
Hmm.
make any notes because I think nowadays materials are available, I mean, which are available online. They are already crafted in a notes format.
Yes.
And so I have done my entire preparation except for quants and reasoning uh, through my PDFs.
Hmm.
So for even for Affairs Cloud, what I used to do was I would highlight the important data, the important lines,
Hmm.
which I knew that if I just see that line again in future, I would just be able to recall the whole paragraph.
Okay.
So I just used to highlight the important points, and with every revision, I would not go through the whole paragraph. I would just stick to the highlighted part.
Okay.
So that helps. That's almost like notes making.
Yeah, true. So instead of making the notes, you can have just the PDF of the compilation of the magazine, and you can just do the highlighting and know that what facts are important, what topic is important. Through that, also, you are able to cover everything.
Yes.
So I think we have covered most of the part of the phase one, and now we can move to the phase two. So starting with the phase two ESI part, did you do the like combined preparation for the phase 1 GA and phase 2 ESI, or you prepared after the phase 1 only for the ESI?
So ma'am, I had prepared for phase two before phase one. So
Hmm.
my static part was already done before phase
Okay.
one, which actually helped in GA because a couple of questions I think were asked from phase two syllabus as well.
Hmm.
So the static part was already done, and government schemes, which is the most important part of ESI objective. So we had to do it for current affairs anyway for phase one. So that was being covered. The reports were being covered.
Hmm.
For Economic Survey of India and Union Budget, I refer to YouTube, and
Hmm.
for Economic Survey of India, I refer to Avinash Agarwal's video.
Okay.
So these things, I think most things were common for
Hmm.
ESI objective and GA phase one, and I think yeah, it's just that the way of reading changed. Some topics filtered out, like we didn't have to read defense or
Hmm.
appointments and stuff for phase two. But yeah, the way we would read, like the data, some data became more relevant for phase two for ESI, some became less relevant. So I would say that it was a combined preparation overall. But yeah, of course, after phase one, I was more focused towards the some relevant data. So the pattern did change. The pattern of learning the data changed for ESI objective.
And usually the students have this idea that it can be a myth or it can be a fact that ESI objective is nearly like impossible to do like in a complete manner. So because the ESI objective, if we see the RBI grade B paper, so it is like so many different kind of questions are being asked that is like you cannot even think about that such a question can be asked. So what is your take on that?
I do believe that ESI does have that element of being limitless. So
Hmm.
yes, anything can be asked, but then we can do our best by sticking to the syllabus
Hmm.
because we only have limited time. So we can, and we know that they are always going to ask about government schemes. They are always going to ask about reports. So these are some things that won't change in the exam.
Hmm.
Although there is a chance that we might see a report which we never heard of, but then there's no other option other than studying and revising what we have already studied. So just sticking to the current affairs reports and indices that we did, and the government schemes, especially of the current affairs, and some important flagship schemes, these are really important. And this year even the government scheme questions were very analytical. So I would say that now it's not just about data for government schemes, it's about the do's and don'ts or the exceptions of the government schemes as well. So now there's more analysis required for topics which are asked for ESI.
That is true. So yeah, some of the things you already know that this will be asked in the examination, like the government schemes is there, the report and basis is there. At least you can do the minimum that is required for the examination, and then if out of the box question will come, that will come for all the aspirants. So that is like for the all the aspirants, so you do not have to worry about that and do not be worried in the exam especially, because then the nervousness takes over you and everything goes to vain. So yes, that is true. Now I think we can move to the descriptive part. Like how are you able to do the descriptive, because you do not have the UPSC background. Like you were not preparing for such an examination where the descriptive is required. So how are you able to do that?
So ma'am, since I did my graduation in economics, I
Hmm.
already had like 3 years of practice of writing economics answers at least. So I knew how to frame an answer,
Hmm.
at least for ESI. For finance and management, so I could say that due to my daily exposure of English or the books I read or any online content that I consume, I was able to craft or structure my answer.
Hmm.
But what I did in the exam was that I didn't start typing right away when I saw the question. I just, in my rough sheet, I first jotted down the structure, the points that I would use, and most importantly, the relevant data that I could think of from my current affairs. Because it's not like they're going to ask any direct data in descriptive. So we have to think, and we might have to make some data relevant as
Hmm.
per the questions asked. Not in a like manipulative way, because the examiner will of course see that, but yeah, we can connect some topics together so that we can use some data which provides a better structure to the answer. the relevant government schemes, especially for the conclusion part where we have to end the answer on a positive note, where we have to make sure that we are positive about the government or the initiatives that is being taken. So yeah, I would just structure the answer beforehand, and I would make sure that I use some current affairs element certainly, and government schemes or any other initiative which would give a very positive outlook towards the answer. And sticking to the word limit was a bit difficult, especially the kind of questions that were asked. A couple questions did not fit the word limit, so it was very like it was not easy to touch the word limit for at least a couple questions. But yeah, we can just use some additional data to extend that. So I think, except for one question, I touched the word limit for almost all questions.
Okay.
And for like this is for finance and ESI, and for management is strictly static, we can say, for most part. So I don't think I used any current affairs data for management. But what I did was that I used my like all the theories that we have to learn, and it's a lot to mug up in management. So I somehow try to use it even when it was not asked directly, but I try to use it to just give a look that okay, I know the theories and I can connect one thing with the other.
Okay. And now I think we have covered the descriptive part really well, that you were able to write the answers. You were like, before going directly to the typing part, you were first practicing through the writing, like writing the important points in a paper, so that you have the clarity of the ideas that you want to jot down in the real answer. So that is also a very good strategy, we can say, that the aspirants can do, that first have the clear idea that what points you want in your answer before writing the complete answer, because it just wastes the time if you change the answer at the last of the moment. Now there is one more thing that comes, like how much typing practice is needed, because we have all heard about the interface that is not very good when you give any of the examination, competitive exam, I can say. So how was your interaction with the interface? How did you practice for that? Did you practice or not?
I didn't practice a lot because I already had a decent typing speed. So that was not an object for me. So I think I might have written just 4 to 5 answers just to see that I can type in time and I can structure the answer. That was, I would say, my practice for the descriptive part. So I think it depends from person to person how comfortable they are with the keyboard. And I would say that whoever decides to practice or check their typing speed, please do not go for laptops because the keyboard is very, very rough and like they are not decent.
Hmm.
So
Yes.
we should go for just the hardcore PC keyboards so that we are in the practice because the keys are very hard. Sometimes even pressing it won't work. So things like that happen in the exam. And also, as I said, that I noted some points beforehand before starting typing. So that also saves time because now we don't have to think and type. We can just look at the rough sheet and keep typing. So that also helps. So yeah,
Okay.
practice can be done if someone is not very familiar with the that kind of keyboard.
Okay. So yes, I think this strategy is very good, that you have to write the important points in a rough sheet, and then you have the clear idea in your mind that, okay, this is how I want to frame the answer. So now I think we can move forward with the finance and management objective part. So how were you able to prepare for the finance and management? Were you making your own notes or just the sources that were provided?
No, I consumed only online sources. I did not make notes for anything except for government schemes, Economic Survey of India, and Union Budget. So apart from these three things, I focused on the PDFs that were provided. For ESI and finance, I refer to other sources that were available on it. And for management, I refer to EduTap's PDFs, which actually helped me a lot because this time we saw that management questions were more in number than usual trend, and they were also analytical. They were not straight. So yeah, those PDFs really helped me because I was really afraid of management with all the theories, and like it's not very conceptual. It's more or less factual only, and especially the theories. So I was really afraid that I might forget everything when I start attempting the questions, but luckily I didn't. And so yeah, the management, I would say, played a very big role for me. The PDFs that I refer for management played a very big role for me to score a decent in FM descriptive. So
And we can say that finance is like half static, half it is the current basis, because you have to do RBI news, you have to do the RBI notifications and everything. But when it comes to management, that is completely static. That is completely that you have to do from some source. So that is really nice that you were able to cover everything from EduTap in the management. Now, coming to the finance RBI news, or like how are you able to cover the RBI notifications for the finance part?
I refer to my Affairs Cloud magazine only. They have a separate section for RBI news where they just provide relevant notifications from the website. So yeah, I didn't go through the website solely. I just refer to current Affairs Cloud magazine.
And most of the students have this like idea for the RBI notification, that they like, I also get many mails that it is very hard to understand, or the terminologies, the technical terms that are used are not easily understandable. So how are you able to cover that?
I would say that the terms or the technical terms can be easily understood through any magazine, because
Hmm.
any magazine, any source one might choose, what they do is they break down the news in simpler words and they try to make it understandable by the normal aspirants or
True.
any aspirants who does not have a finance or economics background. So since I had that background, almost every news was uh, easily understood by me. Some technical terms we can always Google it or watch
Hmm.
YouTube videos on it. That's the bare minimum we should do while preparing. So yeah, but I would say that if we should not solely depend on the website to understand everything, because they are, of course, it's a official website, so things are very technical there. So we can refer to any magazine or any article online that will talk about it, so we'll understand it in simple terms.
Yes, so that is true. For the aspirants out there, you do not have to worry about the RBI notification, even if you are not from the finance background. There are so many like videos available online. Like whenever a new notification comes, like there are the channels that are providing the simpler form of the notification. So yes, through that you can easily cover the RBI notifications or the RBI website. You don't have to worry too much about that. So now I think we have covered
Yeah.
the ESI and finance and management. Coming to the English descriptive, that is the thing left. So did you practice for that, or you were comfortable that I will just do it in the examination?
Yeah, I didn't practice anything. But I what I did was I did make a note of do's and don'ts. I just watched some random YouTube video regarding what we have to write in essay, what we don't have to write in essay, and pressy writing. So I just followed the rules, and I did not have much practice, because I think when you are structuring the answer for finance management and ESI, you're writing that in English anyway, so it gets easy. I think all the all the subjects are interlinked for phase
Hmm.
2 at least, and especially for descriptive part. It's just that we don't have to get very very conceptual in the essay part. We have to show our crafting skill. We don't have to show that we know a lot, or we don't have to use a lot of data. We just have to show that we can structure an answer. We can put our points in a nice way. So yeah, that's the rule that I followed. Didn't use a lot of data or current affairs or government schemes. But yeah, it's just that how you connect two things, how you just go from one line to another line. And this year the word limit also increased, but it actually worked in my favor because I had a lot to write. I wrote on women empowerment contributing to GDP. So I had a lot to write, and I decided that I would use my graduation knowledge here. So it worked in my favor that the word limit was increased. So
Okay.
yeah, no specific preparation.
And do you have a certain pattern of attempting the questions in the English descriptive, like first essay or first reading comprehension, something like that?
First, I think I did RC,
Mm.
um, and I think Pressy writing the passage that was given was quite technical. I had to read it twice and thrice to just understand what it was talking about. And it was 180 words, so the more writing was required for it. So of course that was second number, and lastly I did essay.
Okay. Now I think we can move to the interview part. We have covered everything in the phase two. So now coming to the interview part, did you give any mock interviews?
I did give one mock interview, and I just had to. I mean, I wasn't very excited about it because I was already comfortable with articulating my thoughts.
Hmm.
But since it was a big deal and I had not appeared for any interview before, so I had to see how questions are posed, how I'm supposed to answer, and how the panel members would react if I say something wrong. So these were the things that I had to find out. And of course, mock interviews do help in, especially for people who are not able to articulate well, or who are introverted while speaking. So mock interviews can help. But yeah, I wouldn't say that conceptually they help a lot, because we anyway have to study. It's just that they will, if we are lacking somewhere, or if we have missed out on something, and if they ask questions related to that, we can know that okay, questions like this can also be asked.
Hmm. True.
So yeah,
So I think now we can move to the actual interview. So how was it? How was the experience? It was the first time you went for that.
it was quite overwhelming. It started on a very good note. I would say that, because we had our interview. I had my interview in Kolkata, RO. So that feeling was really great. I was really honestly happy that I was just in RBI office. That helped a lot to take my stress away, and I was just relaxed. And I knew that if I get nervous, then it would only harm me. It would not improve my performance anyway. So there's no point of being nervous. And I think it's just that some things had to be kept in mind, like no one has read everything. We all are equal. Things like this help to just reduce the stress. So yeah, it started on a happy note, and my interview lasted for around 20 to 25 minutes. I was the ninth to go, and it was more of a technical nature. I think I was hardly asked three to four HR related questions, and I was asked around, I would say, almost 40 questions. And yeah, so just three to four HR questions. Rest everything was technical and mostly banking related. Although I did not have any banking background, but yeah, so KYC and tokenization, UPI 123, and CIC, credit rating agency. So questions like this. And for HR, I was asked about. I mentioned in my hobby that I play musical instruments. So uh, I was just asked. The first question was if I was formally trained, to which I said no. So there was no further question about that. And the chairman sir just asked me how many books I have read of economics outside the normal textbooks. So these were just the rest questions were technical,
Okay.
and the
And
members were very cordial.
okay.
So the vibe of the room was really relaxing.
I think you have covered up most of the things that most of the questions were technical, and you have even mentioned like what kind of questions were asked, and they were mostly from the RBI notification. We can say the UPI 123 or the tokenization. This all came in the notifications, or it was in finance current affairs. So I think mostly that part was covered. So how were you able to prepare like for the interview? You were preparing through the RBI website, and what?
So I started reading newspaper. Right after phase two, I started reading Business Standard. Just one newspaper. I don't think I had the time to refer to two
Hmm.
newspapers. And Business Standard covers the most important national interest news as well. So that was enough for me. And of course, I did RBI website from A to Z. I did the website. I just learned everything that I could see on the homepage, all the icons, every title which is there. So yeah, and content wise, I did the working in functions PDF. I did it thrice or fourth time, because I mean, a lot of questions that were asked in the interview, I could answer it because I read it in the working in functions, because that PDF provides you a very technical definition of every term that we use for
True.
banking. So that PDF is very important. And I did reports. In that, I did annual report, the financial stability report, and monetary policy report. So for FSR and monetary policy report, I just did the latest one, not all throughout the year, just the latest one. And it's not like I did not mug up any data, because there was no point of mugging up data. I just saw the trend, like what are
Hmm.
they talking about, how they are just seeing different sections of the economy, whether it is improving or it is worsening. So trends had to be seen, and these reports also provide some technical definitions of a lot of new terms, which was also very helpful. And most importantly, I did the speeches, which help a lot. So I did each and every speech of this year, and some selected speeches from last year and last to last year. For example, I think last year or maybe a year before that, someone gave a speech regarding microfinance, which is a very hot topic in the
Hmm.
current affairs.
True.
So I did a speech on that, and when I just compiled all the speeches with me, I just like there were a lot of speeches that were very common. Different points were given, but they had a common topic. So I just made topic wise notes out of those speeches, so that I have a proper, if I'm asked some positive views on it, so I could say that, or negative. So I just made the notes. For reports, I did that too. I just made my notes. The percentage that I could remember of,
Hmm.
I did write that, just to give a more concrete answer. So these are the things that I did. And since in my DAF, I had mentioned that my father works in a public sector bank. So I learned about that very bank. I went through the history and establishment.
Hmm.
And of course, I focused a lot on banking terms, NPA and SARFAESI and stuff like this, which could have been asked. And banking scams,
Hmm.
the frauds, especially related to that very bank. So I did that as well. So yeah, and I also covered the static part just for a revision, and it helped because I was asked about a question related to Basel norms. So I did static as well, and the notes I had made for government schemes and economic survey of India and budget. These three things I just went through. I did not go through it very religiously. I just went through it so that I would be familiar. If things come up like that, I would be able to take some points from there. So yeah, and for my hobbies part, for the music part, I just since I wasn't formally trained, so I did not very much bother about the technical questions. I had decided that I would just straight away go with the that I'm not trained, because with the limited time, I did not have the time to learn music now. So I just learned some awards, some international awards that are given for that, some internationally recognized players of the instrument. So yeah, that's
Okay. One thing that you said was quite unique was regarding the speeches. That yes, you can do speeches also because it gives you a positive, like it's give you an analytical point of view that okay, why this is happening. Okay, I remember the fact that okay, the monetary policy committee is changing the repo rate or something, but why it is happening. So you will know, get to know about that through the speeches of the governor, through the speeches of other members of the economist or something. So the speeches gives you the analytical point of view very well, like the positive outlook, the negative outlook. So that is a great uh, point that you have said, that you can do speeches for having that clarity of the mind regarding any of the topics, especially that is related to the Reserve Bank of India. So I think we are near to the end of the session. We have discussed all about the interview also, and we have learned a lot from you, Sneha. It was really nice, some very important points that you have given to the aspirants out there, and I hope that they must have learned a lot from you. And at such a young age, you were able to clear the RBI Grade B. That is also really nice, and congratulations to you again.
thank you, ma'am.
So, any message to the aspirants out there?
I would just suggest them to stick to one source, whichever source they pick, stick to it and revise it religiously. Revision is the key, because this exam tests everything, your analytical power, your memory, it tests everything. And sticking to one source is extremely important, because it might seem appealing to go for three or four sources, or like a very bulky books and stuff, but it only kills time. And I think that two revisions of the same source is better than just one reading of two sources. So yeah, sticking to one source is the key.
Thank you so much, Sneha. It was a really nice interview. It was really nice talking with you.
Thank you, ma'am.